Now, many of you requested what Faraz Hadi said. Like many people here commented, can you make a video specifically for inexperienced developers on how to conduct themselves in an interview, what to expect, and more importantly, what to ask them? So in response to that, I went to a conference for recruiters and another conference for developers, and what I came up with is a 4-part series on the entire job interview process. So hey, stop what you're doing right now and prepare to be armed for the do's and don'ts of job interview prep. Welcome back, XDA crowd. Let's get right to it. What is the purpose of a phone screen interview, and what is the recruiter really looking for? Well, if you've made it past the resume selection process, the recruiter or hiring manager will call you for a brief interview over the phone to confirm the details of your resume and also to get the first feel for what you're like as a candidate. Now, if you get this far, it's really good news for you because it demonstrates that the recruiter believes that you have the potential to be a good fit for their client. By the end of the phone screen interview, however, they are going to have formed an opinion of you, right or wrong. Here's how to make sure that it's the right impression. Now listen to this point very carefully from Brian, a recruiter from ProCount Staffing.
I think the key with phone screens is just to speak really slowly and be confident and be professional. Like, nobody wants to get the phone call from the cowboy who say, oh hey, this is so and so and so. It's better if you just speak very slowly, speak professionally. I think that's what resonates with me.
Good advice, right? Very sound advice, but it is general advice. And the whole purpose of this 4-part series was to poke and prod and get information out from recruiters and hiring managers that you won't necessarily hear everywhere else. So right now is the do's of the phone screen interview process and the info to back it up. Number 1, take the screen interview when it comes. Phone screen interviews can be scheduled or they may happen on the fly. It depends on how much time that the recruiter or hiring manager has. You see, they have 10 to 20 people to screen at a time, and they can't draw this out for a week or two. They need to get done over a couple days. So if you reschedule for next week or even to tomorrow, not only are you no longer top of mind for that candidate, but you're forcing that candidate to spend more time on you that they really want. So it's really advantageous for you to take the call when it comes. So unless you're doing something extremely important that you can't postpone, take it when you can. If you have to reschedule, do it within the hour. Do it within, before lunch or before the end of the day or something like that to make sure that you stay top of mind of that recruiter. Number 2, have your resume handy with you at all times, whether it's on your phone or on your tablet, through the whole job search process. So you may not have a phone screen scheduled, but they could come at any time. So have it with you for references purposes only. Don't read it verbatim. We'll talk about that. Number 3, research the recruiter beforehand if possible. Here's why.
Someone actually knew they were going to have a phone screen with me. They checked out my profile on LinkedIn. When they called me, they knew everything about me, and it just sold himself really well to me. Number 4, and this is a big complaint for many recruiters, let the recruiter lead the conversation. You do want to demonstrate that you know your stuff, but you don't want to take control. You want to appear as someone who is pleasant and easy to talk to. This really speaks to the cultural fit part, and it's the first real indicator of what kind of person you're like to be around for 8 hours a day. Now here are the don'ts. Let them rip. Well, speaking fast. Like I said, the most important thing with the phone screen is people can't read your lips, so you really got to slow down the pace of how you speak. Not knowing your resume, right? Or reading off of your resume. I think sometimes when people think that you're speaking with them over the phone, they can't tell when you're reading something, you know what I mean? So you'll be on the phone with them and you have their resume in front of you and they're reading it line by line by line, and just like there's no energy to that. So when you're in person, you can use your hands, you can smile. When you're over the phone, you got to use the tone of your voice to connect.
All right, guys, now before we go on to general words of wisdom that this particular recruiter had to share, I did want to talk about something pretty important. In the comments for the last week, we had overwhelming requests for more detailed information about this kind of thing, and it inspired me to talk about XDA DevCon this August 9th to the 11th, and I had an idea. I thought it would be a great idea if a number of us met down there and were able to do a workshop that goes really into depth, and more specifically to mock interview prep. Really the best way to prepare for this stuff is to do mock interviews with people who are experienced with that kind of thing. And they can really challenge you and help you grow, because right now these videos are largely theory and it's hard to do a mock interview through interviews. So here's the idea. If at least 10 of you go to xdadevcon.com, purchase the $75 tickets for the conference in August, and then go to Twitter and copy XDA developers and say, hey, I want to work with Jayce in job interview prep workshop. I will be there for you, and we will do that in a small group and really take you far. All right? Here we go. Here's Brian Shin, where he talks about his experience in phone screen interviews.
We obviously deal with a lot of foreign trained people, and I feel bad for them because they are highly qualified. But I think one of the challenges is they think that if they've been at manager level, working 10 years for a Fortune 500 company somewhere abroad, that easily translates to a Canadian company, and it doesn't. So the biggest thing for them is they need to get Canadian certified, and they got to start back at the bottom and work their way up. It's not about quantity. Like, you know, what you'll see sometimes is people will apply to 50 jobs at an agency. Like, we obviously have like 40, 50 postings open at any time, and a person will apply to all 50. And they don't realize that the same person is screening all 50 of those resumes, and they basically blacklist themselves because the person who's reading the resume thinks it's so ridiculous that this person has no idea what they want to do. And it's almost like the best candidates, the most coveted, they're not going to be so desperate. And when you see someone who just applies to everything, you wonder what's wrong with that person. Yeah, sure. So when foreign people are applying to jobs in Canada and their names are not necessarily commonly heard, it's not probably politically correct, but there is going to be some discrimination there when they're looking at their name. And it's people, when they're screening resumes, are looking for any clue or any insight on why they shouldn't call a person. You know, and if it's something even as simple as a name, like it or not, it's a fact that people might not call a person because their name is foreign, and they'll automatically come to the conclusion that that person can't speak English or whatever the reason might be. So yeah, it's something as simply as changing your name definitely will help a lot, I believe. So I think what candidates don't understand is that working with a recruiter is really managing a relationship. And I think too often candidates, they expect a result in 2 months or 1 month or 2 weeks. Like, they interview with people and then they just let that relationship die if nothing happens right away. And what they don't understand is it's like any other business relationship. You might meet people and they might have nothing for you for a month or 2 months, but maybe a year down the road they do. And just maintaining that contact with that person, keeping a professional relationship is what's going to help you. Some of the people I place right now, I met them a year and a half ago, and I'm placing them today. So you never know where those opportunities are going to be.